Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me here today. We are gathered on Treaty 6 territory, and I acknowledge the Métis people who share a special connection with this land. 95 days ago, the UCP announced its moratorium on renewable energy projects in Alberta. They did it with no warning, no consultation, and no care for the harm it would cause to jobs and investment in Alberta. At first, this government claimed that this was because of the Alberta Utilities Commission had requested it. They also claimed that the Alberta Electricity System Operator requested the ban. The Alberta NDP has obtained documents that include a memo sent from the AUC to Minister Neudorf that they were directed to create draft terms of reference for an AUC inquiry on June 29th. That's only 30 days after the May election, in which Daniel Smith did not mention a single word about this during the election campaign. It's only 20 days after Nathan Neudorf was appointed Minister for Utilities. Clearly, this ban was part of her agenda all along, but she hid it from voters. These documents also show clearly that the UCP did not consider the impact of their moratorium until much later. On July 28th, a few days before the moratorium, the system operator sent a briefing note to Minister Neudorf stating, quote, "The ISO has been advised that the government of Alberta is considering the implementation of a temporary 6-month pause on approval of all generation plant applications." They also provided insights for Minister Neudorf to consider to, quote, "minimize intended consequences." Days after the ban was imposed, on August 10th, Minister Neudorf's office requested information to, quote, "to understand a summary of renewable projects." To be clear, the minister asked for this information more than a week after the ban was announced. So let's be clear. Daniel Smith and her government hid her plan from voters and then hid it from industry, and then sprung a surprise moratorium on renewable energy projects. Billions of dollars in investments were put at risk, and tens of thousands of jobs were threatened. This abrupt action has not only impacted our reputation within the electricity industry, but it could transcend to other nascent industries looking to invest in Alberta, such as hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, or even geothermal energy, which is also bizarrely included in this ban. It didn't have to be like this, and I want to be sure it never happens again. That is why today I'll be tabling in the legislature a motion that calls on the government to pass a law that would ensure Alberta stays open for business and prohibit the suspension of project approvals while the government reviews regulations. As someone with 15 years of experience in the energy sector, working in renewables, oil and gas, the oil sands, both in Canada and around the world, I have never seen such heavy-handed government intervention in Canada. And I can see and hear firsthand the damage this UCP ban is causing, locally, provincially, and even internationally. I would like fellow members to think about this. According to the Canadian Renewable Energy Association, a 100-megawatt wind facility equals $175 million in project development and more than 300 jobs. A 100-megawatt solar PV facility includes $125 million in investment with approximately 200 full-time jobs in construction. In fact, the impact of the UCP ban on renewables is forecast to risk $33 billion in investment and 24,000 jobs. I want to emphasize that businesses choose Alberta because they expect governments not to change the rules without consulting. Businesses want to conduct business. Businesses want to invest in our province and do not want to get caught in surprise government meddling that puts jobs at risk. Policies put in place by the Alberta NDP government, many of which were kept intact by this government, have attracted over $5 billion of investments in our province since 2019. We are the envy of other jurisdictions. Alberta has been leading the country in renewables, with 75% of Canada's utility-scale wind and solar capacity growth in 2022 here in Alberta. This exponential growth has exceeded everyone's expectations. Why would any government claiming to be pro-business actively meddle in the market that attracts global investment from succeeding? I urge my colleagues in the UCP to support it and support the Alberta industry and entrepreneurs and vote for it today. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer questions you may have.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if you're on Zoom, it's the raise hand function. If you're on the phone, it's *9 to get in the question queue. We'll just check in person.
So at least one of the explanations for the renewable ban was that we don't really have an excellent plan for cleaning up projects when they're no longer being used. Probably say the same thing for oil and gas, but do you agree that we need a better plan for cleaning up renewables projects afterwards?
So in the renewables industry, we already have reclamation securities. These securities occur between the landowner and the renewable energy developer. The challenge is that some of these are not available for the public, but the reclamation security manages that. Look, we're not against reviewing regulations. I think governments must always review regulations, but they need to do it in an orderly way, in applying best practices in public consultations. They need to talk to the industry, especially if you're risking $33 billion and 24,000 jobs. So that is the challenge with this ban.
We'll just do one more quick pass for questions on the phone. It's raise hand if you're on Zoom, *9 if you're on the phone. Seeing none, that concludes our press conference for today.